Hi, my friends. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, your host, and also an indie author. I'm thrilled you're joining me today for another fun interview with a passionate author. We're going to kick off this show with an exciting reading, so let's get started.
Hello. This is Dr. Deena C. Brown. I'm so excited to be here. I am the founder of the Lead Her Shift movement, where it's all about shifting the way you think to elevate the way that you lead, and the steward owner of Her Executive Presence, which is an executive coaching firm for women. Well, most importantly, I'm an author. I'm an author, speaker, and an entrepreneur who really believes that it's through our stories, it's through our sharing of our narrative that we have the power to empower people to transform their lives. I'd love to share with you Testimony. This is an anthology. It's all about the journey of me on the road to I am. And I'd love to share with you chapter 1. Actually, not only just the chapter, but the introduction to that. This introduction is really a conversation I had. And so it kicks off the chapter of unmasking I am by introducing you to I am. And so it's written as a poem, and the poem captures the essence of my prayers and pleas of the journey of me on the road to I am. I am running, hiking, ducking, and diving, working to escape the shining, battered by slips and falls, still possessing the root of it all, hurting and confused with more and more discouraging news, crying out in dismay, praying for the dawn of a brighter new day, asking myself and those who beckon near to help me make sense of the road so unclear, feeling the pull and the tug of the rug pulled from under my feet. Am I destined to live a life of defeat? My child, listen here in those two finely tuned ears to the words that I say to help you on your way to discovering the who and the how you need to nourish the seed planted in thee. You were crafted with the utmost care, from the toes on your feet to your kinky coiled hair. I made you unique with a purpose so deep that it has to steep and brew in the heat. It is the fire of cause that brings you pause, yet helps you take your calling, take root. Therefore, no man can dilute what you are called to do. When you hear the naysayer's voice, you have a choice to trust in me or believe what you see. My daughter, I have purposed you. Trust me. And that's the first stanza of the poem that introduces the actual book, Testimony, the journey of me on the road to I am.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. This is an incredible and very special week for us. We're turning 1. Woo! And what better way to celebrate than with the amazing Dr. Deena in the house? We're getting ready to celebrate. We're getting ready to have some fun. We're going to get ready to motivate you, my friends. So, Dr. Deena, how are you today?
I'm so excited. Happy anniversary!
This is going to be such a fabulous week. We have scheduled every single day for our listeners to enjoy a brand new and passionate author. This is what we're all about, is bringing amazing speakers, authors like yourself to our listeners to enjoy and just discover. So we're going to get started right away because you have me hooked on this poem. It is powerful. And by the way, your voice is fabulous. So I'm totally like, yep, she's definitely a speaker. Tell us, where did this book come from? Where did this poem come from? Give us a little background.
Oh, well, Testimony had been planted in my heart for a while, and it's really broken down to mean your destiny and your testimony. And when it comes together, that's what I then deemed is your testimony. And so I actually I get a lot of my constructs from divine downloads. Like I'll drive or I'm, thinking about something and it'll just like, boom, it's just there. And so this particular book had been sitting in my heart for a while. When I say a while, I mean like years. It was sitting there. And so I thought, how do I want to write it? Is it going to be a biography of me? And I started to kind of figure it out. But every time I began to write, I just kept hearing 10 echoed in there. I thought, what does that mean? And so I said, oh, I got introduced to doing a couple anthologies before. And I said, oh, it's not just my story. It's others' stories, others' journeys on discovering how did they really begin to embrace their I am. And so I said, okay, great. I wasn't initially going to write for this particular book. So I go, no, my book is going to be, it's coming up, it's separate. But actually I sat down and I'm like, no, I'm actually going to add a part of my story to this anthology. One night I couldn't sleep. I literally could not sleep. And I just felt like there was something in me that needed to come out and be birthed. And those of you that are writers or authors out there, you know how it's just like something is there, but you just can't. And nights I was just disturbed. And one night I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'll never forget. Actually, it was 2:33. I just did not have any kind of whatever. And I'm like, okay, God, like, what is it? Have a lot going on. And he said, write. What am I supposed to write? And he said, just write. I got up, I grabbed one of my notebooks, and I penned the entire poem. And the entire poem, and he said, it's a poem. It was the conversation that I was having in regards to what was happening in my life, which is the key when we start talking about my destiny plus my testimony. What am I saying and what is God saying to me? Am I hearing him? It's not long, but I would love to share. I think it would make more sense too if I shared the other pieces to it, because you could hear the dialogue that we have. And so the title of my chapter that I wrote for the anthology is called Unmasking I Am. And this poem that is the prelude to that is called Introducing I Am. And I am is a big play on the bigger I am that I am, because I'm a woman of faith. And when God says, I'm in you and you are in me, and that really understanding and knowing who you are because of who I say you are, not because of who you may have thought you are or others might have told you you should be. That's where your power lies. That's the truth of your story.
Woo! Just got chills. I'm like, wow. Those are the kind of messages you get and you can't turn them away. It is that passion that comes in and you're going, I don't know where we're going with this. This was not part of my plan. I was supposed to go left. Why are we going right? Okay. So you said you needed to read that to us. Go ahead.
So I shared the first stanza, but it gets good. Every time I read it, to be honest with you, I get a little chills like, who was that? And so the next stanza picks up with me again, going back into the conversation. So it's my voice. And it says, purpose you say, please show me the way. I have tossed and turned and have third degree burns by this thing called life, which is filled with strife. They lie and cheat and do their best to sabotage me. I have fought and feared and done my best to hold dear the promises and truths that come from you. My tears fall bleakly from eyes so weary and sorrow so dreary. The pain of my past stifles my ask, and I am so scared to let go, but I want desperately to grow and reach the new heights which I have in my sights. Am I destined to live this life less than you called me to be? My child, you are equipped with the finest tools that I've taught you to use. Through the thick of the fight, you have honed your insight. Stop dimming your light due to doubt and fear. I have more than prepared you for any fight, far or near. You can and you will if you will only be still and hear my voice when you lack clarity of choice. Envision to see that I have sent you to be the light the world needs. I have embedded in you all that you need to break through the soil of disbelief. Have faith. Stretched by the magnitude of my gifts, which causes several rifts between my beliefs and becoming, I know there is more to be seen once I can glean the core of my truth that feels so aloof. My dreams dance, entice, and romance my conscious desires to birth the will of the master designer. What do I do? What do I say? Am I destined to live a life of disarray? My child, clarity comes from when you first believe and align it with faith. You have the power and the authority to transform your situation. It starts with your head and flows to your heart when you think, speak, and love you just as you are. Speak life into your spirit and cherish love in your heart, and you will experience the wonder and all that I've seen from the start. You are enough, whole and complete. Anyone that says different can have several seats. No need to worry, no need to fret. Just know that I am not through with you yet. Every day is a step in the right direction. Stay the course and shun misconceptions about who you are and what I have called you to be. If they have any questions, just send them to me. You are beautifully and wonderfully made, the apple of my eye and my refreshing lemonade. I love you beyond measure, so no need to count my love. It's abundant and you have a full account. Thank you, Father, for the complete story. I am beautiful. I am purpose. I am equipped. I am becoming the best version of me. I am making the shift. I am self aware. I am humble. I am intentional. I am focused. I am tenacious.
Wow, that is powerful. So let's talk. I am the person that I'm going, anytime you tell your story, anytime we open up our souls to people, that is huge. Because a lot of the times, yes, we connect through storytelling, but how many times do we leave the veil on? We stay away. We're kind of distant. You just rip that baby off and just bring you in. How did that fail? How did that process fail?
Well, as soon as I penned the last word, I climbed into bed and I slept like a baby. And as soon as it came out, I went to bed, slept like a baby.
Wow, that is clarity and absolutely purpose. So one of my favorite books is Conversations with God.
Mm.
Very, very new wave. My best friend in college gave it to me while literally I joined the military. So 20 years ago. And
Ah.
you have that flow and that essence. And one of the things I love about him, he says, am I really talking to you, God? Or am I going crazy? And God replies, doesn't make a difference. Listening to your voice, I was like, that is such an amazing conversation that so many of us are terrified to have. We
Mhm.
don't want to have that conversation. So you were open enough to do it and then you share it with people. How is that process?
I realized that I was really the vessel and that it was not only my truth, it was really the understanding that others needed to have their own conversations. I know and I firmly believe that our testimonies are the answer keys to the test of life that people go through. And so when we share what's from inside of us, what we've been through, and I'm talking about from like you said, pulling back the veil from the ripped off, bare naked space, that literally energetically begins to extend our healing from inside of us to those who were outside of us in our own ecosystem. And when I first read it after, because again, I literally just sat down and wrote, tears and all. There was no, I just wrote and finished it. That's kind of how writing happens to me sometimes. Everybody like, I'll be struggling. And so usually I'm like the creak of the dawn of the early morning, and then the divine flow hits me and I write and I'm like, well, what did I write? So when I went back to read it, I was like, whoa, what, who wrote this? Who wrote this? And when I started sharing it and people said, oh my God. And so I knew that it wasn't just for me.
It has such a personal connection and we all can relate it. It is those powerful words and those affirmations. I love that you had that list of affirmation has been the week of listening to authors with affirmations because we don't tell it. How many people do not look in the mirror and says, I'm beautiful? Like that is like almost a sin lately. Like nobody wants to say it because we want to be so proper. We don't want to come out as vain. We don't want to do these things. So we downplay their blessings. I like that you just put them out in the open.
Oh, absolutely. And that was part of that healing thing. And so when you read chapter 1, it'll make sense because what the final I ams are, when it says, I'm self aware, that is part of my signature shift factor, which was birthed out of one of the darkest times in my life. And so I always say it's not about making a pivot, it's time to shift. And so that's where I'm self aware, I'm humble, I'm intentional, I'm focused, I'm tenacious. That's the acronym for shift.
Okay, say that again, because I'm like, whoa.
I always talk about shift. We've talked about it before. If you follow my platform, the Lead Her Shift movement, shifting the way we think to elevate the way we lead. You'll hear me say the shift factor. So shift is an acronym. Shift, the S is for self-awareness. So I say, I am self-aware. The H is for humility. I am humble. The I is for intentionality. I am intentional. The F is for focus. I am focused. And the T is for tenacity. I am tenacious. To really hold on and dare to dream bigger and make that shift, because now I'm very clear. I'm self-aware. I know who I am. I am. And if you read and if you listen to the poem, each question during the poetic reading was, am I? And then the reverse is, in the end, is I am. See, so many of us are walking around going, am I, am I, am I, am I, am I? Could I, could I, could I? Instead of I am, I should, I could, I will.
The acronym is powerful and is impressive because when you're thinking of shift, it doesn't have to be huge. I think most people feel that if your life is falling apart, you have to have some revolutionary movement that is going to change the world. Sometimes a simple turning left is all you need to make your life get you to the next space. So you said intentional, you're talking about focus, you're talking about humility. Because half of the times we forget the humility. How did that come into the picture and why?
Well, it comes from, and as I shared, God said, you're fully equipped. And so I am one of those people that give a lot and rarely ask for anything. I just don't. And he says, when I say you're fully equipped, doesn't mean that you are designed to do it alone. And if you can do it by yourself, that dream didn't come from me. We're designed to be interdependent on each other. And humility is a sign of strength. So when you're aware, that's why self-awareness is first, you actually know where your gaps are and your opportunities are to have someone bridge and support you. That's what humility is. It's like, oh, I don't know the answer. I'm okay with it. But guess what? I know that person that does. And so you are fully equipped when you're humble enough to know you don't have all the answers. All of the answers, though, are connected to you because we are interconnected. And that's how we were designed in a divine way.
Your conversation with God sounds a lot like mine. Like I joke with people, I don't know what I'm doing, but normally he's raking me through the coals. I'm like, are you done? No, 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 no. I got this. And I keep getting dragged. It's like, are you ever going to listen? So your conversation, like that entire shift, I'm like, if you can do it alone, it wasn't from me. Hit home. I was like, ooh, I think you were talking to me. Hold on. How did that happen? We do think we have to do it alone. We're convinced that we're supposed to struggle. We're convinced that we're not meant for greatness. So this poem is such a powerful reminder. It's like he meant to make us bigger and better. Why are we still struggling? Why are we not believing? How long did it take you for you to believe that message?
I'm always still in the believing state. I am. And I say that because the human aspect and the human design aspect is that in times of ambiguity and validity and uncertainty, we tend to go back to that autopilot state. And that's part of the programming that's external programming. So the poem and my relationship and the conversation and my knowing is about the intuitive aspects of who I'm called to be. And so you have to break that habit loop with consciousness, intentionality. And so when I do fall into that mode, that's why I use acronyms. I remember to shift. And when we talk about, I love that you shared that people believe it has to be something great. And I tell people that every leap begins with a step. Every leap begins with a step. And so when I'm doing like a keynote, I will connect all those dots because people say, oh, I need a pivot. And if you understand a pivot means you're anchored in one spot and you are looking around. You're not moving. And the same if you talk about an actual gadget that's a pivot, it holds it in place and lets things spin around. But to truly move from where you are to where you want to be, you have to take the step to shift. You have to.
There's no other way. You have
There's
to take
no
the
other
step.
way. And so I have like reminders around me. I use anchor words and I say, to myself. And I have like even sitting like in front of me on the computer, sticky notes and things like that. And one of my great mentors and person that I really respect, we were doing a panel. And when she said this hit home for me, this anchored me. And she said, you being not good enough can never come from you. Because the
Wow.
seed of who you are, think about it. A seed has everything in it needed to be what it's called to be. Inside of a rose is not a sunflower. A rose seed, a tomato seed. Inside a tomato seed is not going to birth you an orange. It's going to birth a true, authentic tomato. And anything else that is done to it that will give you something else means that someone else had to interject in that natural divine design. So is it such with us. If there's something saying that we are not good and perfect and whole as we are, then that means it didn't come from God. It doesn't come from our divine program. It didn't. And so I remember that. And when things are happening and I'm kind of getting like, like I said, there's a lot of stuff even going on in my world right now. And I have to kind of go back and anchor myself or meditate or go into that space. I go back. It's not who you think you are. Who did God say you are? And then when you start talking bad about yourself, I go old Baptist church. Not that I'm Baptist. I go old Baptist church on you. Oh, you calling God a liar? Now you calling God a liar, right? Because if you're saying all these things that's wrong with you, and God said you are good and perfect just as you are, so you calling God a liar. You're going to let Marianne, Sue, Jeff, and everybody else, you're going to believe them, but you're going to call God a liar. Okay. For real? That's the conversation I'll be having. I talk.
I love it because back in my days when I was a youth minister, I had the same conversation with my kids because I was telling them, I was like, so do you not think you're perfect? Do you not think you're wonderful? Do you think God made a mistake? And they'll look at you like, what? It's like, because if you do, I think you should go outside and tell him. And they'll be like, whoa. I was like, if you think you are not perfect the way you are, you should go tell him because obviously he made a mistake. Are you going to tell God he made a mistake? And every single child has to stop and look at himself. It's like, I'm not telling him that. I was like, then what happened? I thought you weren't perfect. So the fact that you had, and I like the fact that you said going old Baptist school, because I live in the Bible Belt, so I completely understand. I was like, ooh, she went there.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, this is such a powerful message, but not surprised because you have an entire ministry, and this is what I'm calling it. You have an entire movement going on. Tell us about the movement.
Well, the leadership movement really was birthed out of just me really getting clear and me realizing that in order for me to go to where I needed to go, where I'm called to be, I had to think differently. You got to get out of your head and in the room. That's why I said a lead her shift. It's really about the lead her shift aspect because as women, many beliefs that we believe about who we are, what we should do, and how we should love, and all of that stuff is part of this program that we bought, have implanted, almost like a little, how you chip pets. Like it's almost like many of us got this little microchip in our forehead. You have to sacrifice. You can't love yourself first. You got to give till it hurts. All that stuff. And I know it to be true because I can take a woman from 5,000 miles away, from a tiny village in Sri Lanka, and she's dealing with the same BS that we're dealing with. That's why I know it's a bigger program that's been running. And I said, how do we break that loop? How do we make that shift? And so really making the shift is about shifting the way we lead. And by lead, I mean learn, experience, apply, and develop what we know to be true. So what are we learning about ourselves? How are we experiencing life in that knowing? How are we applying what we do know about who we authentically are so that we can develop properly in that pathway, in that divine narrative that we're called to lead? And so the Lead Her Shift movement is really about breaking that habit loop, that mental loop where for some reason women think that we have to put everything and everybody else first. And that loving ourselves last is going to really get us to the head of the line.
We have been programmed for so many years to believe A, that this is natural and that this is how it's supposed to be. And we believe it. We
Mhm,
truly believe it in our heart
mhm,
that we take the humility and humble and we tend to
mhm,
corrupt it. We
mhm,
have corrupted it in the sense that we take it as a pride that I
mhm,
can do everything. I'm all things to all people. But
mhm,
we make ourselves secondary characters in a story.
mhm. We do. And depending on what's happening in our lives, and this is kind of how, even the other stories in testimony and the women, and we talk about their journey of understanding. And so, mine is all about unmasking I am and really kind of getting to who that is. And then, but we have, the hunger games we play, the cycle, taking time to reflect. Yes, girl. Yes, girl is really powerful. That really kind of ties into that. Michelle Endo, who wrote that one, who happens to be a Japanese American, and she talks about culturally what it means to, be a woman and a wife, and when you're different, what does that look like? And so when you're really trying to define yourself because you don't fit that historical mold, or those cultural constructs, and living a life of purpose, then we have light in the darkness, and that's in English and Spanish, because one of my authors, she's Colombian, and she's like, her natural first language is Spanish, and she goes, I'm writing it in Spanish, and then I'm going to translate it to English, and my husband's going to help me, and da 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 da, and it's not going to be perfect. I said, we're going to print it in both. We're going to print it in your natural, what's the most comfortable for you. I said, because some things just don't translate. You could try, but you don't. And then we'll print it in English. And so we did. And she goes, oh my God, you would do that? I said, absolutely. That's really important to do that. And then, like making shift happen, your I am journey. And then at the end of this book, at the end of testimony, you're invited. So I had it's a total of 9. And I kept saying, God, I thought you said 10. Well, he said, I did. He said, because the 10th chapter invites the reader to script and begin to script their own I am journey. They are the 10th.
I am such a passionate person when it comes to journaling. So the fact that you have pages in the book, it is perfect. It
Mm-hmm,
is that extra level of reflection. I'm the
mm-hmm.
person who needs to hear it. I need to see it. Then I need to do it. So this book just goes right up my alley. I was like, ooh, I get to actually write and be part of the story.
You get to be part of the story because it talks about, at the beginning I said, our interconnectivity, that humility that exists in what we're learning. And so it does ask, you do get the opportunity to do an I am personal inventory. And so the first question is, who am I? And the second question is, where am I in this season of my life? And what are my skills and abilities? What do I believe about me? And my most power hitting question that I love to ask, I ask myself every day, is where's the lie in my life? What am I willing to do to know my truth?
Madam, the first question is what Deepak Chopra calls your soul question, by the way.
Yeah.
That who am I is such a soul question
Mm-hmm.
that we refuse to ask ourselves. Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
honestly ask people and you ask them, who am I? Who have the typical labels, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, but they never go down deep enough to who they are. They're never going down enough to say, I'm love, I'm passion, I'm fearless, I'm power. Those are the things. So when you said, here's the questions that I asked myself, it's like, that is one of the main key soul questions that I wish everybody will ask themselves on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited about this. So tell us, you have been writing for a while. What other books have you done?
I actually was part of another anthology, which is called Extraordinary Lives. And I wrote, my segment was called Kintsugi, The Art of Being Beautifully Broken. And
That is a perfect title.
yes. And then I also wrote the A to C Guide of Mindful Leadership. Is 26 powerful affirmations to activate the intentional leader within you. And so with this A to C guide, it goes through like a particular affirmation and a word, and then there's the reflection portion that goes with it. And so you can do divining like I do and just open it up, or you could go from A to Z. And so there's, again, affirmation for each letter of the alphabet, and it concludes with 30 days of gratitude. This is a 30-day gratitude challenge that actually exists in there as well.
Those are incredible. And they're so connected to the spirit, yet they're very practical in terms of everyday affairs.
Mhm.
What are you currently working on now? Because I know you have millions of projects, so you're not
Yes.
still.
Well, I just put out the Dream Journal. And it's about living by design and not default. And so the Dream Journal is a little bit different. And it really talks about how to create your power goals, the questions that can change your life, and, conscious communication. But it's designed for you to identify those 5 areas of dreams that you have in your life and then begin to script down really what it takes to manifest them and begin to put those in place. And then there's also some quotes that are in there. And so I'm doing a series with my League of Extraordinary Women. As you can see, the League of Women, they're called the Shift Factor. Every one of those have an avatar. So this acronym is bigger, yes. And so we have Sanaya, who represents self-awareness. We have Hestia, who represents humility. And we have Ima, who represents intentionality. We have Faith, who represents focus. And we have Torah, who represents tenacity. And so the League of Extraordinary Women actually have a whole series. And so there's a devotional that's by Faith. There is creating a life that you desire to live, create a life that you love. Sanaya is the main focal point of that. The Dream Journal is written by Hestia. She's the main focal point in that. And so each one has that. The affirmation diary is written by Ima. And then for me, I did 100 confidence quotes by women. So there's 100 confidence quotes, all written by women. So when you need that extra boost that you can cut, so that's a flip book. And so each of these are designed in flip book format. And then the journals are in hard book format. And so this spring, we're already in spring practically, the affirmation diary will be released. And the Dream Journal was released with a dream box. And so inside the dream box is everything that was needed for you to dare to dream. And so inside too was this nice, beautiful dream pillow and dream cards for you to write your big, bold dream. And on the back is where you place your dream, because you know how powerful it is to sleep on it. And so you can put your dream underneath your pillow and sleep on it. And so that you're also manifesting in a quantum cosmic space as well.
You have taken all these pieces that we talked about and that we listen to right now. Like it's all the big buzz, but you have made them so practical and very accessible to everybody. So I am so thrilled for the combination. And the dream box is perfect. I'm like, there's a dream box? Wow. Where did that idea come from?
These divine downloads, because there has to be, for me, synchronicity. I don't create anything, I don't co-create anything with God that is not going to be useful and practical. And so when I thought about it, if I want to create the right ecosystem for dreaming, and so there's a hand poured Soe wax vanilla and lavender essential oil candle to create that whole mood for you. And the pens are absolutely gorgeous. There's a rose gold branded pen for you to write in your dream journal. And there's some herbal signature tea and chocolate so that you can pretty much have time to love on yourself and spend some time with yourself dreaming. So when I thought about how do I pull all these things together and make it make sense, I thought, well, if I'm sitting down and I'm creating my altar to my dreams, what would I want there? It's a little chocolate, tea, and me, journal, pen, a cute little matchbook with my candle.
It is all the things that we want or that we need, and sometimes we forget.
Yes.
Just because we're so busy trying to fix everybody that we don't give ourselves that time just to indulge.
Yeah. Honestly, that's exactly it. And so the affirmation box that will probably make its appearance closer to the end of April, May timeframe will also include, again, what do I do to create this mood for myself, to love on myself? And so the affirmation diary will definitely be there. There'll be some smudge sticks inside of it. Yeah. So you can kind of clear the energy around you, as well. And so in putting the things together from in your question, I sit down and I say, okay, what do I need to really get into that space? And I just channel the energy of my sisters that are connected in the world. I just feel it. And so, there's that part of it. And then I know I'm on target because as I share with you, I can see your face going, ooh. And as you're like, wow, yes. And every time I would share it with someone, they're like, yes. And I was like, so I know it's a divine thing. I wish I can say, oh, it came from me. And I can tell you it's a huge divine download. And so in trusting that and I'm coming out with a signature candle line as well to kind of help keep us in the mood as I rebranded everything across, my brand, because now is the season of elevation. And my word for this season is elongation. So not just elevating, but stretching myself outside of what I can do, because I do know I do have a giftedness to bring things together without a lot of energy. I mean, it's like almost effortless. It just comes. But that's not pushing myself to where I'm called to be. That's just me going, oh, okay, there you go. And now I'm in a season where it's like, reach farther. Come on, stick that arm out there. And so that elongation is occurring. And I said, okay, I need some brand synchronicity. And even in the works that I'm putting out and like books and journaling, and I actually am seeding my book, my story. And I vacillate between wanting to tell it all in poetic prose or to actually write that. And I've been leaning to poetic prose, which I believe that's what I will do because it actually flows more natural for me than just writing these chapters of my life to do that. And so that book, I'm looking across because I did a sample cover for it and it's across from me on my wall, on my dream wall. And that one's called Dare to Dream.
Love it. I have an entire Dare collection, so that is perfect. Absolutely touches my heart. Tell me, what advice would you give an up and coming author who is trying to follow this journey? What would you tell them?
I will say literally just write. And when you cannot write, speak. And when you can't speak, listen. And when you can't listen, read. And I say that because we get in our heads with, oh, it has to be all of those things. But that one word becomes a sentence. That sentence becomes a paragraph. That paragraph becomes multiple paragraphs, which becomes a page, which becomes a book. We've heard that portion before. And I think that it's been said quite a few times, right? However, when we think about that, sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, the words don't come. So that's why I say, okay, if you can't write, then speak. Ask yourself some questions and then answer and record it. There you go. Transcribe it. There you go. There's more than one way to get your story out. So begin to utilize your talents, your gifts, what feels good for you. There is no perfect way. There are some textbook methods out there, but if they don't fit you, throw them in the trash and do what works for you. And so again, I have my authors that I'm working with and, I do a writer's intensive and literally in 3 days we write a book, but I use different methodology than sitting down chapter. When they leave after the 3-day intensive, they literally have the whole skeleton book. They might have to go do some rewrites, some whatever. We have a title, we have a chapter, we have a cover design, we have it broken down. They just kind of go do whatever edits and go see whatever else. But they literally have a manuscript, a rough draft of a solid manuscript to then do whatever they wish to do with. And they're like, how did you do that? I said, because it starts with asking questions. And so when the questions you're asking and then you're kind of recording that. And so now that you've been writing, okay, so then you're speaking. And so then, listen. Oftentimes it's really beginning to listen to the stories around you. Listen to the narratives that are being shared in your ecosystem to spark those memories, those emotions, those thoughts within you that you do want to share about you. What is speaking to you? What makes your little heart flutter? What gives you chills? Be listening for that. Because the same way that it gives you chills, guess what? If you're listening to someone else, what you're writing and when you begin to share authentically, what did you like about how they were sharing? What did you like about what, you're listening? If that's still like, okay, well, I'm still not there, then begin to read. I haven't finished a book in I don't know how long. As soon as I start reading, boom, thoughts. I got to have a whole nother sheet notebook because I'm writing at the same time. Ooh, there's a thought. Ooh, let me explain that out. I mean, I'm writing constantly, which makes it very difficult to get through many books. Until I go, no pens, I'll go to the beach. You will take a book. You will not take a pen. You will not take a sticky note. You will sit your little butt on that beach and read that book. And, then I'm like doing page flips. So there's so many ways to get to getting your story out. That's why I say just start. There's no perfect time. You don't have to be on New York Times bestseller. And definitely know if this is anything, and I know that I probably shared a lot. You guys, you might want to listen to it again and kind of go back. And then you're always welcome to send me a DM or something like that. If you say, well, what was that again? Or, can you break that down? Is that when we are doing this work and when you're sharing your story, it truly is your story and it can be shared the way that you want to share it. Every single person has a story inside of them. How and why you want to share it is actually the spark that will ignite the creation of your story. So all my authors, I go, what do you want to do with this? I don't care what it is you want to write, whether it's your personal narrative, if it's fiction or if it's bio, what do you want to do? Is this just for your own personal, let me get it out because I've been thinking? Is it because you want to become a speaker and you want to use that to build programming? Or is it because you want to tell us, what is it that you want to do with this work? Know that. And the rest will begin to flow around that. So that's what I got. Hopefully those are some good tips to kind of get you moving.
Those are incredible tips for any new author that is trying to figure out where do I start. I love the fact that you said know your why, because sometimes that gets lost. And we're trying to prove something to other people instead of being really authentic. So I like the being authentic to yourself, and it drives everything else. I think we get lost in all those little what am I supposed to be category instead of just enjoying to write. So amazing tip. Tell us, madam, where can our listeners find you? Where are you located? Where can they find your books? Tell us.
On all things social media out there, if you go to at Dr. Deena Speaks, DrDeena Speaks. And if you go to Instagram, I don't know if Twitter has the Shorby link. If you click on that link, you'll see opportunities to tap in. And one, you will see the opportunity to order testimony to get an autographed copy of that. I've been getting requests again for the Mindful Leadership book. I actually, I was like, oh, I guess I have to put that back out there. I haven't even, kind of like you, I'm like, I haven't been promoting that book, but people are like, hey, give me that. So I'm going to put that back out there. I am working on a mega project, everybody. And this mega project is not going to just be about writing for authors. It's going to be about the holistic piece. And it's called the $1 Million Dollar Project.
Ooh.
And so what it is the very first professional development and growth dollar store. That's all digital downloads. And so the $1 Million Dollar Project is designed to help you make whatever shifts that you need right then. So it's not a 9-week course, a 10-day course. The kinds of things that'll be in there will be like, say, a self-awareness, thinking about the shift factor. It'll be launched in the next couple of days. We have some technical difficulties, but it's launched, it's out there. The first bundle is all about self-awareness. You see where it's tying in everything. I talk about self-humility. Okay. It's self-awareness. And so every item for that featured special time, and it's usually thematically every month, it's just $1 to download it. Or you can get, and it's 5 items, there's 5 new items every month. Or you can buy the bundle for $5. And the bundle always comes with a bonus for $5. Or you could buy individual things like how to design your personal board of directors. There'll be things on like taking your personal inventory, which kind of could help you for writing, like what I shared with you, kind of getting started of knowing your why. Very specific thing each month. And then you can go there. And so the $1 Million Dollar Store, the whole impetus behind that and why it's there is that I am building a sanctuary for women, a wellness center, a place for healing, a place to just kind of be restored, a place to write, a place to just be. And I said, okay, God, how do I fund this thing? And he said, $1 at a time. And bloop, the $1 Million Dollar Store was born. So it's the first of its kind. I am reaching out to everybody in the world. If you spend $1 and you invite 10 other people to spend $1, then in the next year, I could build this wellness center and have a space for people to dare to dream bigger.
Every time I talk to you, I get inspired, I get motivated, and I seriously get pumped just listening to you and your dreams and your goals because it's not just a dream, you're making reality. You are changing people right now. So I'm going, I need that link. You need to DM me that one because I need to support this.
It's all action guides, worksheets, and things for you to do and use as a tool and a strategy, as opposed to taking a big course. And this is all designed for personal development and growth.
I'm completely motivated by the fact that you are just so powerful, so excited, and passionate about everything. But you're not just talking about it, you're seriously making things happen. 90% of the times we talk about it and we get that high just from talking about it and nothing happens. So
Mhm.
the fact that you are making these things happen every day, I'm like, whew, we need to hang out more because I need this
Yes,
absolute.
I'm always open. I'm always open. Got time for you anytime, every time. But I am, and I will send you the link. And I am asking everybody that I know to share it with everybody they know and ask everybody to share. I said, because even if you just spend $1, if you just spend $1, you
It's cheaper
know,
than a coffee. That is
it's
cheaper than
cheaper
going
than
to a
a
coffee.
coffee. Just what it's there for is so huge. And so, self acceptance is really big for us. We talked about that, the early portion of that. So the first bundle has the self acceptance worksheet. How do I learn to really accept who I am and really begin to define who am I? It's just that for you to be able to put this, a 5-minute guide on how to talk with yourself, how to
I
have these
love it.
conversations. They're all things that you can take and build into your personal growth plan and do immediately.
I love it. It is instant gratification for everybody who needs it. This is modern day instant gratification. It is
Mhm.
absolutely awesome. So, madam, we are going to switch gears because you know we can talk all day long. Let's be honest. So, it has been so much fun and so inspiring. So, we're now going to switch gears to our lightning round. So, oh yeah, easy peasy.
I
Don't
should
think.
say, okay, now it's time. I was hearing the Disney, the Disney song, Mickey Mouse song. Like, oh, okay, right around. Okay,
Yeah, easy peasy. Don't think too hard about these ones. Whatever comes to your mind. Let's have some fun. Apple cider or hot chocolate?
hot chocolate,
Nice.
a little splash of cardamom, the spice, cardamom in there.
Ooh.
Okay,
Thin crust or stuffed pizza?
thin crust,
Romantic movie or action?
action,
Nice. So we're switching gears a little. Let's see how you do with this one. If you could be any Disney villain, who will you be?
Maleficent.
She is like everybody's favorite, by the way. Tell me, why is she your favorite? Do tell.
She's so powerful. She's so dynamic. And for all of that exterior iron, the core of who she is rooted in the pain and the hurt and then love. And see, the opposite of love is fear. It's her fear of losing things that really overshadows her love. And so you see that. And so she is both. She's the law of polarity personified.
Ooh, that is really amazing way to see it. I'm like, oh wow, I don't think I ever saw it that way. So here's our last one. Let's see how you do with this one. If your life had a warning label, what would it be?
Mm. Wow. That one is a stumper. I'm going to tell you that. It's rarely to stump me. Because I think about the warning label. Radical dreamer.
Ooh, I love that one. It is absolutely perfect. So, madam, it has been a pleasure and an honor to have you on this show. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
I just want to say thank you. I want to say happy one anniversary. I want to say this has been truly one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had. And like I said, just your work is astounding. That have the opportunity to hold and share space with you has been phenomenal. And what you're doing and providing a platform for authors to really spark and ignite in other authors, those bigger, bolder passions to just move is just laudable. And so I just want to say thank you. That's it. That's what I got. Thank you.
Oh, sweetie, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is officially one of my biggest passions in ministry, and it accidentally happened. So I am so blessed to be able to share this space with the listeners, with this community, and with authors that I'm like, I'm that little kid that wanted somebody to listen to her when she wrote her first book.
And I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't by accident. I'm gonna give you a little divine piece. It was not by accident. This is your divine calling. And so you finally arrived. And so vibrationally, when the vibration and the opportunity met, it was birth. This wasn't an accident. This has been you. It's part of where the seed began to sprout. And now you get to see as it's flourishing. And this is part of your growth. This is
Ooh,
only the beginning.
I'm officially going, I never thought it was that deep. So I am so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to continue these conversations because we have a blast together. To our listeners, I have a special treat for you guys. For any aspiring author that is interested in trying to figure it out, how do I go from an idea and give me a book story? In the links, get my free worksheet. It actually is 4 easy steps to translate it from how to flesh out an idea, how to get you easy fleshing out to get to your stories. Get a copy of it, download it, have some fun, join my newsletter. And for everybody, thank you for listening. It has been amazing. This week is going to be fabulous with so many authors. Go ahead, give this podcast a like, share it with your friends, tell people to join us, and I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Bye.
Bye.